All right, let's just jump right in. Today, we're looking at a new startup idea that's designed to tackle a problem that, let's be honest, probably drives a lot of us crazy: the absolute chaos of managing our professional networks. And we're not just talking about another app here. The big idea is, what if you could put your relationships on autopilot?
So I want you to think about this for a second. Your network, all those connections on LinkedIn, all the DMs on Slack and X, it's supposed to be your single greatest professional asset, right? But for a lot of us, it feels more like an avalanche, just this constant stream of notifications, messages you meant to reply to, and connections that just fade away. So which is it for you, really? An asset or an avalanche? Well, if you said avalanche, you are definitely not alone. A report in The Guardian found that the average professional gets hit with about 270 notifications every single day. 270. I mean, just think about that. It's a constant barrage of pings and alerts, and it makes having a real, meaningful connection almost impossible. And that's what brings us to our first section here. We're calling it the networking nightmare. We're going to really dig into what this digital overload is actually doing to our professional lives. You know, the source material had this phrase that I think is just perfect: hemorrhaging hours in a fire hose of chaos. Because that's exactly what it feels like, doesn't it? You're constantly jumping between platforms, important DMs get buried under noise, and all those potentially valuable introductions, they just never happen because you're too busy trying to keep your head above water. Okay, so that's the feeling of it all. But let's look at how this feeling is actually backed up by some pretty solid evidence. We're moving from just the anecdote to the hard data. And here's the first piece of data. Honestly, this one is a bit of a stunner. Microsoft's Work Trend Index found that, on average, we get interrupted roughly every 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Just let that sink in for a second. How are you supposed to build a meaningful relationship, let alone get any deep work done, when your focus is getting shattered that often? And this right here, this is the human cost of that statistic. It's not just about lost productivity. It's about pure, genuine frustration. One person on X called it pure hell. And I think a lot of us can relate to that feeling of just watching the clock, knowing that hours have just vanished into that black hole of switching between tabs. So, what's the ultimate consequence of all this digital chaos? Well, our networks basically become these digital graveyards, just filled with missed opportunities. We hit accept on the connection, but we never actually connect. All that potential for collaboration, for that next great job, for a game-changing introduction, it just evaporates. Our networks are full of what this user perfectly calls silent digital ghosts. And here's the crucial part. This isn't just an individual problem. This isn't just us complaining. The market itself is screaming that this is a real pain point. You see huge companies like Automatic buying up personal CRMs like Clay. You see actual job postings for managers whose entire job is to manually stitch all these different platforms together. People are spending real money right now to try and solve this mess. Which, of course, brings us to the solution. We've talked a lot about the chaos, so now let's talk about how we might bring some order to it. Let's look at this concept for an AI-powered autopilot for your network. So what exactly is an AI relationship concierge? Well, the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Imagine an AI assistant that lives inside the platforms you already use every day, like LinkedIn or Slack. You don't have to log into yet another app. It just works in the background, quietly analyzing your network, finding those hidden gems, and then automatically crafting and sending hyper-personalized messages for you. So how does it actually do it? Well, you can break it down into 4 simple steps. First, it scans everything: all your LinkedIn connections, your Slack conversations, the whole shebang. Second, it uses its intelligence to figure out who you should be talking to, the hidden gems. Third, it writes introductions that sound natural, like they came from you, not some clunky robot. And finally, and this is so important, it automates the follow-ups, so no valuable opportunity ever goes cold again. Okay, this all sounds pretty incredible, but obviously an idea like this isn't happening in a vacuum, so let's take a quick look at the competitive landscape and see where a solution like this would actually fit. What's so interesting here is how it clarifies what makes this idea unique. So you've got players like Clay, which is a really powerful personal CRM, but it's a separate app. It's a database you have to manage, not an autopilot. Then there's Affinity, which is great, but it's really built for big enterprise sales teams. Lunch Club, fantastic for setting up one-on-one meetings, but it's not writing messages for you all day long. And Draft AI can help you write a single message, but it doesn't have that network-wide intelligence. The real edge here is that true, deeply embedded automation. So if this solution could really carve out its own niche in the market, just how big of an opportunity are we talking about? Let's get into the numbers and the potential multi-billion-dollar prize.
Okay, first up is the total addressable market, the TAM. We're looking at an estimated $68.5 billion. Now, that number basically represents the entire pie, the combined global spending on related things like AI in sales, conversational AI, and parts of the CRM world. It's huge.
But of course, no single company can capture the entire pie right away. So we narrow it down to the Serviceable Addressable Market, or SAM. This is the slice of the pie you can realistically target. And for an AI autopilot like this, that's about $10.3 billion. This is the segment you can actually reach through integrations with platforms like LinkedIn and targeted sales.
And finally, we get down to the Serviceable Obtainable Market, or the SOM. This is the most realistic, near-term goal. It's what an early-stage company could credibly aim to capture. So if we take just a conservative 1% of that SAM, we're talking about a $103 million opportunity. Not bad at all. And this chart just puts it all into perspective so you can really see it. You've got that massive scale of the total market on the left, then the very significant chunk that's actually serviceable, and then a really healthy and, frankly, achievable target for a new company in this space. It's a huge opportunity that's built on solving a truly massive pain point. So we'll end on this thought. The technology seems to be getting there, the market need is crystal clear, and the financial prize is massive. But it all really boils down to this one fundamental question. In an age where everything is being automated, would you be willing to hand over the keys to your most valuable professional asset, your relationships, to an AI? It's definitely something to think about.